Our 15th anniversary bash. It was the Massachusetts state senator who killed the gas tax hikes in Massachusetts a few years ago and then was brave enough to take on crazy Senator Elizabeth Warren in last year's race for the US Senate. We all voted for you, Jeff. Well, most of us anyways. He can also be heard every Wednesday on WRKO in Boston with one of the most talented guys on radio, BB. Ladies and gentlemen, this is his third appearance at the Valley Patriot Bash. He was here before he ran for office, he was here while he was running for office, and he is here again when he's not running for anything at all. We love having him here, Geoff Diehl.
Thank you, Tom, for having me here. Thank you, Kiana, for a wonderful introduction. Very excited to be with you all here tonight. Actually, very excited. This is not in my speech, but I want to say... Gotta hold it? That's better? All right. Very excited to be here. I want to tell everybody, there's a guy named Dan Strange over there. A year ago, got a cancer diagnosis, beat it, and he's here tonight. Well, I'm really glad that you're here tonight, Dan. Why don't you stand up and get a round of applause from everyone. Big supporter of the president, stand-up guy, and someone who I really think is a good friend to everybody who knows him. So, I see a lot of friends here actually tonight, and a lot of you supported me in my US Senate race. I'd like to buy you all a beer. So when it gets to you, take a sip and then pass it on, okay? Now, tonight's about recognition, about the great people in the Merrimack Valley, and I want to start, like I said, with a big round of applause to our host, the MC, and most of all, the friend to everybody in this room, and that's Mr. Tom Duggan. Tom, get a big round of applause for him here. Tom, as you know, gives of himself daily to improve the lives of those around him, whether they know him or not. And it should come as no surprise, since Tom is the son of a law enforcement officer who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty to keep the streets safe for others. Patrolman Thomas Duggan Sr., you see the banners up here, was killed in 1990, and this event is a fitting annual tribute to him. And what his son has been doing for the last 15 years with this bash is recognizing people who make sacrifices every day to help others, and that's why I'm so honored to be a part of it. Tom takes the time to go beyond the headlines and reporting for the Valley Patriot, putting in countless hours and pulling every string he can to recognize law enforcement officers, firefighters, and even grant scholarships to the young future leaders of this community. Tom wrote a book, if you don't know this, called Heroes in Our Midst. I think you're probably selling it, right? Pick up a copy, 20 bucks. It's about veterans from the Lawrence area and the surrounding towns who saw combat in foreign wars. And I hope somebody, someday, writes a book about everyday heroes and that Tom is included in that book. Maybe I'll write that book. So, because my time in office and during the campaign for the US Senate took me around, I got to meet a lot of people, and that's really what inspired me. The everyday heroes that put everything they have into their neighborhoods across the street and don't ask for anything in return. And in this past year, the city of Lawrence stands out as a community that I think stood taller than any other in the Commonwealth in the face of terrible adversity. So as you all know, on the night of the Columbia gas explosions, right? That was a difficult time. I went to the Partham Elementary School to see if anything was needed, and at that shelter I found dozens of volunteers helping hundreds of others, and they were being led by people like City Councilor Brian DePena and former City Councilor Myra Ortiz. They were giving out water and blankets and clothing. It was very inspiring. I want to thank them for doing what they did, and everybody who helped somebody that night. It was a scary night. You actually left your home and went out and helped other people not knowing what was going to happen. You're part of the everyday heroes that helped out that night. In the following days and weeks, it was people like City Councilor Mark LaPlante, his wife Susan. They went door to door to make sure claims were being fulfilled, handing out battery-powered camp showers for those who had no hot water, and helping with the National Guard distribute hot plates. But I think the story of Officer Ivan Soto is one of the most incredible that I've heard, though. In the 8 years I was in office, probably the most incredible I heard. His own home, if you don't know this, was burning to the ground from the explosions. But he never let that stop him from doing his duty and keeping order and helping others until his shift ended that night. To date, about $70,000 has been raised on a GoFundMe page for Officer Soto and his wife Veronica, and if you haven't helped them, I'd encourage you to go there and try to help them out. It's not too late. They can always use the help.
Settle down.
But heroes don't just emerge from disasters. I had a chance to go to the grand opening of a place called El Canto restaurant last year. Has anybody been to El Canto? No? Well, if you haven't, you should go there. The father-son team of Hilton and Danny Torres, they brought a Puerto Rican flavor to the Lawrence Partnership Test Kitchen and are doing very well. And if it weren't for the cooperation and work done by Sal Lipoli and the Northern Essex Community College, there may not be an incubator space to allow a Main Street business like El Encanto to get their start. And I know Hilton and Danny employ other people, and I'm sure someday they're going to pay it forward as well, just like Sal did. But I have to say though, thinking about my time visiting the Daybreak Shelter on Winter Street here in Lawrence pretty much motivates me and moves me every single day. With no local or state or federal funding, this nonprofit wet shelter, and I don't know if you know what a wet shelter means, but that means they'll take in people with alcohol and drug addictions that are under the influence at that time. One of the few out there that will do this. They take in those people, and they do their best to provide about 80 people. I know they only have a limit of about 50 beds, but they still stretch every day to try to help upwards of 80 people get a hot meal, a warm shower, and safe sleeping accommodation, something we all take for granted. They're providing to homeless people every single day with no help from any government agency, no help whatsoever. The work being done by the staff members like Greg Davenport and Brooke Armstrong, if you're here, big shout out to what you're doing, to meet the mission of empowering people to reclaim their lives by providing substance abuse education, treatment, and recovery guidance, plus working with them to develop their life skills so that they can have a future filled with promise. It's incredible, and quite honestly, it's a miracle right here in our midst. Yeah, big applause for that. So that brings me to the best part of this evening, at least for me, and that is by recognizing a truly selfless hero. Carina Pappalardo, where are you? She's right here. Why don't you come on up, Carina? She's the CEO of the Psychological Center and runs the Daybreak facility that I got to visit. Using 4 old, and now just picture this. You guys know what temporary trailers are for schools, those old classrooms they would bring in, temporary classrooms. She got 4 old temporary classrooms, got them put together and made a men's dorm, a women's dorm, a place for showers and doing your laundry, and then a kitchen and a place to eat and have little meetings. Got those 4 put together, again, with no money, and holding it together with a shoestring, and again, helps not just the 50 people that they have space for, but sometimes upwards of 80 people sleeping on the floors every day, every year, no break. In fact, when this winter hit, they were there. When every winter hits, when there's a disaster, they're there and they're accommodating everybody. So it's incredible. Carina's been able, in my opinion, to save the lives of many homeless men and women who are struggling to survive with nothing but her strength, her determination, and her huge heart. At a time when resources to fight the drug crisis are thin, mental health services are difficult to deliver, and support for the homeless is a constant fight right here in the city, Carina works tirelessly to get the funding donations needed to maintain a staff, provide food and supplies and heat, and keep the doors open every day. Carina, you're an inspiration to everyone, me especially, and I'm just so thankful you're here. So I guess we have a special citation.
So where's Annie Clegg? Is Annie Clegg here? Can Annie come up? Annie Clegg. So our good friend Scott Clegg, let me just tell you a real quick story if it could have your attention. We'll do it in 1 second. So my good friend Scott Clegg, when my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran who served on Corregidor, had a stroke, I moved in with him to take care of him. And he was in a wheelchair for the first time ever. and we were trying to figure out how we were going to get him around the house because the wheelchair didn't fit through the doorways. We had no ramp in front of the house. And my good friend Scott Clegg, who we used to call Scott Clug, just as a little dig to him and say his name wrong, called me and said, "You know what, Tom? Your grandfather is a friggin' hero. He served on Corregidor in World War II. He fought the Japanese. He went to Home Depot. He got a bunch of lumber, came to the house, widened every doorway in my grandfather's house, built a ramp, and then wouldn't let me pay him back for it." So he passed away this past year. And when I found out about that, I was just crushed. Because this is a guy that went out and did things for other people and never even asked for, nor wanted, a thank you. So this year, we're bringing back what we called our Goodwill Ambassador Award. We haven't given this away in 3 years. We retired this award 3 years ago. But we're going to bring it back because we're calling it now it's officially on every plaque, the Scott Clegg Goodwill Ambassador Award. And we're giving the very first one to our good friend Carina Pappalardo.
Tom, over here.